Hey, everyone, welcome back to...
The fire you can't put out!
Hey, okay, so this, again, we apologize for not having a show last week because sometimes it just, stuff happens and we couldn't, pull a time together, and it is a nightmare in terms of organization, so we didn't get a show together. But I have actually been thinking that, if in the future we have an idle week like that, we will maybe do a shorter segment or something so we can at least have something out.
So we can put something out, right? And of course, this week is even stranger because we are on, but we are sans Angela because it's tough to get all these schedules together sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
Shorthanded, and we have some technical difficulties this week. So, one of the fun thing we can do is for the weeks that we can get together to do a show, we just do one-word comments.
No.
And
of course, as we're doing this show now, news is still breaking insanely fast.
This is a hell of a week, and it's not an idiom. It is a hell of a week. And right now, when we're taping the show, is April 19th, and of course, the dominating news right now is the Boston Marathon bombing and the ensuing manhunt. And right now, actually, it is the later afternoon of April 19th, and right now, it's when we are taping the show, news are coming in that they might have suspect number 2. So so right now I'm actually having the TV on and monitoring what's going on, and then we're doing the show at the same time. So there are a lot of different angles that now a lot of things is in terms of just picking this apart, in terms of just analyzing this. I think it's still really premature to talk about. There are a lot of angles that is just way too premature to talk about, as in the international angle of it. The Chechen connections, and I keep hearing people bring up, analysts today bring up, okay, is there Al-Qaeda connection? Is there Al-Qaeda connection? Well, give FBI and all these agencies some time to figure it out, because just us on the internet, we couldn't figure it out, right? So just give it some time. You never know. But so
okay,
we just had a little bit of technical difficulties again. So I was saying that we'll give it a little time in terms of the analysis and whether or not we want to draw any conclusions on anything. But one of the things that I can say about the past couple of days, at least, is you can see how deteriorated. I can't say that word. Deteriorated how the news media is.
Yes.
Because it's so ridiculous. There's just a couple of really glaring errors.
Right.
And they were talking like, we have a source within the law enforcement. And turn out it's BS. Turn out it's not even close. And then the worst example, of course, is New York Post. They posted pictures of people who have nothing to do with this.
This is not the first time that the New York Post has printed the wrong pictures and caused people harm. And of course, the Post is owned by Rupert Murdoch.
Right.
And whenever they do this, they never do retractions.
No,
it's the Post. They don't care. And even if they could do a retraction, how would they do a serious, far-reaching retraction of the story? They would have to make it the next cover story the next time they put out the New York Post.
Right.
And so there's that. And then with CNN put out that it was a Saudi national. It was a Saudi national.
Well,
there were two Middle Eastern women that had the hell beaten out of them by some guy just walking down the street, saw them and just knocked hell into them and was blaming them for the bombings.
Right.
Yeah. He happened to catch CNN's coverage.
Right. And the first day right after the bombing, I think not long after that, CNN or some other outlet keeps saying, well, there are arrests. Turns out that isn't even right. And then after that, everybody, I think yesterday, they were, there is another student missing at Brown University.
Yeah.
And that guy does resemble suspect number 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I keep seeing, Twitter and, all these other outlets, even some reputable, quote unquote, news outlet says, yes, suspect number 2 is that guy. Turns out not even close. So I don't know what's happening to the news media.
There was also an instant fight politically between the two sides, right. because right away the Republicans, the conservatives, and Alex Jones, they go, you know what? It's these Muslims, it's these terrorists taking away our freedoms. And then a lot of people on the left side of the political spectrum goes, no, we're pretty sure that this is a right-wing hate group. And I'm not terribly ashamed to say, because it did happen on tax day, that I may or may not have been in that camp thinking, you know what, this is probably just another right-wing hate group. But we all turned out to be wrong, because they turned out to be white, they turned out to be Russian, and they turned out to be Muslim.
It turns out to be a lot more complicated than any of us would imagine. Because there will be. It looks like at the end there will be a somewhat an Islamic angle in this. Because
but it's mostly only because one of these guys decided to take up the religion and become a lone wolf.
Right. So it's a lot more complicated than all of us guessed. Because it wasn't even close. But the news media. What's happening to the news media?
Well, the same thing that has been happening to it's when it became infotainment, that's it. News went out the window.
Yeah, well,
it's all about sales now. It's all about getting. We spent about a week in the hotel a week ago, and I generally don't watch a lot of television, but I watched quite a bit of Fox and MSNBC at that time, and with the exception of Rachel's show, I really couldn't stand to watch either one of them. I noticed that Fox, and even when they bring on so-called liberals, their liberals just happen to most of the time agree with their conservatives. And then over on MSNBC, and now, like I said, I really like Rachel's show, but when I watched their news coverage, I can't even tell you how much they just kept going off about, things that don't matter, Right. How emotional Michelle got over something or whatever, or I remember it was Obama mentioned that a new cabinet member was good looking or something. Oh yeah, and that was the wall to wall news on MSNBC. And I go, wait a minute, what the hell, you guys? Shouldn't you be spreading the liberal doctrine?
Yeah, the new Attorney General.
There we go, the new Attorney General.
You know what? In the risk of being a sexist, I have to say she is a lot better looking than Eric Holder.
I'll tell and that's fine. You know what? It's not a big deal. And why that was wall to wall coverage? And they brought these people on. They go, "What do you think about that?"
It's payback. It's a lot of times it's payback time because we accuse them often of being sexist and a lot of times racist. And right away. When there is any kind of a crack, they would come back and it's payback time. If we criticize Michael Steele, then are you guys being racist because he's black? It's always that. It's always they're just looking for places and looking for a crack in to get us back. We're not even talking about. We're not even debating real issues sometimes. Right. It's about, they just try to get back at us on stupid stuff.
The news headline over on FoxNews.com today, and you can look this up, this is verifiable, is that the second gunman, the one they're looking for now, went to the same high school as Ben Affleck and, who's that other fellow who's always hanging out with him? Ben Affleck. And Matt Damon. Went to the same high school as Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Now, wait a minute. Aren't those guys in their 40s and this guy that they're looking for is 19? Are they trying to say that somehow because they went to the same high school that they're somehow connected? Right. Like, that's a completely BS headline. I mean, even if he did go to the same high school, who cares?
What's the point? What's the point?
What's the point? Well, because in their minds, because Ben Affleck has done a lot of good progressive work, and Matt Damon's one of his best friends, is they're trying to say these Hollywood liberals are now connected with the second gunman, and to some yahoo with a gun cowering in his basement, or he's gonna hear that and go, "Oh my God, it's the liberals to take it over," or whatever stupid connection he can make.
I mean, are we taking the turn back into gun control again? A little bit maybe, but there's this. I think isn't this like state senator from Arkansas or somebody? I just read that somewhere, and I don't have the details in front of me, but he was saying that, well, don't you, liberals in Boston, want to have an AR-15 with like a 100-round clip or something?
Oh yeah.
We're going back to this debate whether more guns and more bullets are safer.
Don't you wish you had more guns now? Because there's somebody on the loose.
Really? I mean,
here's the thing. Boston is on total lockdown right now. The only people that are on the streets essentially are the people that aren't complying with the lockdown, which is very few, and a few people actually made it to work this morning before the lockdown was put into place, and then they were locked down at work, and then law enforcement said, okay, you know what, you guys can go home, so eventually they were on the streets too. But the whole city, and I've heard quite a few calls come out of there today because I was listening to some talk shows earlier, Boston, imagine it. Looks like a ghost town, water town, where they believe they have the suspect cornered right now is on complete lockdown.
So here's the breaking news: he is in custody.
No. He is in custody. They caught him alive.
They got him. I think they show an ambulance driving away. So he's in.
Yeah. I'm glad. Well, so now this was coupled with Ricin attacks this week, which right away. Maybe,
okay, wait. Before we get off the Boston thing, maybe we can pick this apart next week when we have a little bit more time and more information. Okay. But the whole day today, I'm thinking, this is the worst nightmare that can happen to an immigrant family. Yes. This is the worst. Yeah. Because then from now on, you really have to, you really have to explain yourself. One thing, I almost came into tears today when are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Almost came into tears today when, the uncle, I think the uncle is not even in Boston, somewhere in the Eastern Seaboard, somewhere, the Baltimore, somewhere. Now, first of all, why would the media want to talk to family members? Why would they want to? Why would they want?
I would be kind of interested, but it seemed like that the family members didn't have too much to offer.
No. They talk to the uncle, right? Uncle,
right?
And then they talk to the two guys' aunt in Toronto, and then she start going off on this. They are framed. This is like a conspiracy by the U.S. government. Something. So I'm like, okay, wow, okay, but they talk to the uncle. And then the uncle was saying that, dad is back in, Russia and, they're hardworking, Go back to the tape. Go to YouTube. I'm sure it's there. But you know what? Yeah. Guess what? One of the reporter actually asked him, so how do you feel about America? I'm like, what, really? Really?
That's
slimy.
That actually is. That's pretty low rent.
Yeah. So I'm like, gosh, now, immigrants, not even Chechen immigrant. Now Russian immigrants. Well, it's already bad, right? It's already that we have to go further to prove that we love the U.S. and we are loyal to the U.S. It's gonna get worse.
One of the inspiring things I saw this week that I really liked is, and it's unfortunate that it takes a tragedy to bring us together sometimes, but I saw, and it wasn't a completely across the board. I still heard the same dumb left and right fights happening, but there weren't as many. For the first time in a long time, I'd finally heard everybody saying that we are all Americans.
Right.
And
right.
there was a feeling of empathy and of solidarity. And here in Portland, it came out just today that since Monday, the Portland Marathon, which happens in September, right. Their registrations have quadrupled what they would normally be this time of year. And they say the spike obviously has all happened in the last 4 days. It's our way of saying we're not going to be afraid.
Well,
we're not going to stop. We're going to continue doing what we're going to do, and now we're really going to do it to death. And if you're looking for a group of people right. and you want to crush the human spirit, you're not. It's not going to happen with athletes, and it's definitely not going to happen with runners. Because think about it, and I'm a runner. We run. We have no destination. We just run. Because we think it feels good, and our goal is to eventually run 26 miles and wind up exactly where we began. Like, we are insane. Yeah, you're not going to break our spirits.
It is. So there's some absolute good that came out of this whole nightmare.
There is. I mean, it's not worth the lives that it cost.
It's got the fallout. It's going to be horrible. I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think especially to immigrants, especially to Central Asians.
I think it won't be as. I think it won't be as long lasting as you think because this attack happened Monday. One guy is dead last night. The other guy is caught this morning. The Obama administration and the FBI handled it as a criminal case. I mean, they called it an act of terrorism, and it is, but they handled it as a criminal case and said we're going to go after the criminals that did this, and they now have both criminals. And that's it. They didn't go to Russia. They didn't start dropping bombs on Russians. They didn't say be afraid, be very afraid.
I think we're talking about two different things here. So I think it's going to be for immigrants. This is bad news. I think, but we'll see. We will see how enlightened. We will see whether we will see. What am I trying to say? We'll see whether we actually went further or more enlightened since 9/11.
I like to think that we have. The more positive side of me likes to think that it won't be.
I'm a bit skeptical on that, but
you can be, and you absolutely can be. But I'm, trying to remain as positive as possible because I saw a lot of good in my countrymen this week, and I really would like to see that continue.
Right. Okay, so if our listeners listen to this show, it sounds a little weird. It's because we are just having nothing but technical problems tonight. So I'm going to do my best to edit this and stitch this up into something that makes sense. But if you hear like a sentence and then the response is a little weird, like the spiel I'm doing right now, well, there are technical problems and people cutting in and out. So anyway, you know what? Let's do this. So let's wait a week. Let's have more information. Next week, I really want to revisit this. I want to really talk about the media, social media, in terms of, within the role of social media, good or bad, in incidences like this. And also, I really want to bring back to talking about immigration and race that is affected by incidences like this. So, let's dive into the Ricin thing.
So coupled along with seemingly coupled along with the terrorist attacks were Ricin attacks where Ricin was sent to the president, a senator, and a judge. And then yesterday, and of course those samples were sent away to be tested by the FBI, and they did come back positive for Ricin. Now here's the thing about that. Immediately I started thinking back when Patrick Leahy got weaponized anthrax sent to him. It was Leahy and Tom Daschle, which, by the way, were the two guys that were threatening to torpedo the Patriot Act back in 2001. Right. They were the only two guys that got Ricin, and so I saw a terrorist attack. I saw Ricin being sent. Now Ricin, it takes a very teeny tiny amount, like a pinhead of Ricin, could kill a human being. Ricin is very easy to make.
We have seen Breaking Bad, yes.
I have not. And also when it kills, I mean, it's really hard to detect, and there's no antidote. Right. So this Ricin is sent out, and after the 2001 anthrax attacks, any mail that is sent to Washington D.C. Offices, senators, congressmen, the president, things of that nature, it's delayed about a day or two because it's sent off-site outside of Washington, D.C., where it's tested in a whole separate facility, and then if it comes back clean, only then is it sent to the offices. Yeah. So when the letters went to this facility in D.C. and they found these three that had Ricin in them, they said, okay, it's positive for Ricin.
I think they learned from, I think one person did die. When this is back in, was that 2001? When there was another round of a Ricin letter attack. Yeah. I think there's a newspaper editor in Florida got sent to Ricin, and he did die from it.
Okay.
So I think law enforcement did learn from this, and after that, senators start getting it, right. So they derive a totally new and hopefully completely safe procedure to screen mail. So that's why we got these intercepted before it actually got to, the senators and the president,
And in another moment of thank goodness that the person that perpetrated this crime was not very smart, this guy sent a letter along with each of the ricin samples, right. And the letter said, "No one wanted to listen to me before. There are still missing pieces. Maybe I have your attention now. Even if that means someone must die, this must stop. To see a wrong and not expose it, to become a silent partner in its continuance." Right. Okay, now here's the thing. He cited, "I am KC and I approve this message." It didn't take long to find KC's Facebook page where he has the same thing written as his quote on his Facebook page. And then the guy's name actually turned out to have KC as the initials.
Kevin,
they were his
Kevin
second and
Curtis.
third initials.
Right.
Yeah, Kevin, and it turned out to be Kevin Curtis. So he wasn't that hard to find. By the time the samples came back with the ricin, they already had Kevin Curtis in custody.
Well, okay. I think that the news is still, they're actually confirming whether there is actual ricin in the letters. But you on the back of your head, you would hope all the people who do this kind of stuff are that stupid.
Right.
You would think, because they cracked this case in like half a day.
Yeah, it didn't take much. And, the FBI was already really hard at work on this other case. I'm surprised they had the resources for this one. I figured they had all hands on deck with the marathon bombing, but they got somebody on this, and it didn't take long.
Thank God big government is working. Right.
See?
Right.
Well, this is what it looks like when government works.
But here's the thing. When it's really hard not to draw some kind of conclusion that it is a related simultaneous attack, because the bombing and then it seems like, oh geez, there are ricin all over the place again. It's like it's 2001 all over again. It's hard not to draw any conclusion on that. The two things are related, but the thing though is, how do we actually get to this point that political argument becomes a life and death? You want to kill somebody because you disagree with him or her on something. How do we even get to this? I mean, certainly, I have no love for Republican senators right now. Maybe every single one of them, because the other thing that happened this week is they voted against background check, right? I certainly think like these guys are not even looking out for our interest, right? But I don't want them dead.
Right.
I mean, it takes a really weird person to actually wish death on a public official. So I don't know what's happening to us collectively. What's going on?
Well, I think I have some idea. Our politics, which by the way is not necessarily who we are. We are other things besides whatever our political identities are. But to other people, they see us if they're involved in politics or news or talk radio or cable news, then everybody becomes whatever their political identity is, and they have a hard time seeing them as anything else.
Right.
If you catch a lot of the political dialogue that's going on right now, it's all very poisonous. None of it is, as much as this phrase is said, they say, let's talk about it. But then they don't talk about it. They just tear whoever disagrees with them apart.
Right, and that has everything to do with, the media thing that we just talked about. Everything got dumbed down. Everything, including the discussion itself, including politics, including current events, and I think more importantly, and this isn't just the news media, is the media and how it portrays, us, is they actually dumb down humanity itself.
Yeah.
As in the casual brutality of it. Yes, I guess we're going back to, violence and, video games and that sort of stuff. But you can see everywhere now. This is a long argument, I understand, and there are many sides of this argument. But really, do we have to kill 100? Do we have to it's such a sad thing that, body counts in a movie is a thing. And that is not new. That is not new because I remember one of the movie I remember is Green Beret, with John Wayne, and there were scenes in there. They just like guys, like people just stand there and they just mow them down with the Puff the Magic Dragon, and life worth nothing in some of these media portrayals. Right. So and then they circle back and well, that person dead, and so what? But it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, how do we even come to that point? How do we even come to that point that people would just threaten the president, like that?
Right. Unfortunately, that act there itself is a pretty common thing. Of course, those have doubled under this president, but I don't think I don't think our people have ever used more poisonous language than they have when describing this president.
Okay, well, I got to be fair here because recently, as recent as like a couple of days ago, I think Janet Bush, is that, or which one of the Bush daughters, one of W's kid had a baby.
Yeah, she had a baby, right?
Right, and then I keep seeing comments like some people are mean, seriously. And I'm like, well, I don't know where those people are coming from, but all I'm thinking is, what? If you don't have anything nice to say here, just shut the hell up.
Well, and especially about something like that. Right. Once again, this goes back to what I was saying. We are not our politics. She is not her dad. Right. And even if she may share some of her dad's politics, she is not her dad's politics. She just had a baby. Give her a freaking break.
Right. I mean, it's not. Yes, we certainly don't. We disagree with pretty much everything W stands for and did.
Everything.
But yeah, I mean, even with Dick Cheney, I think some of the talk is like a lot of people think like really wishing him to have a heart attack.
No. But he's inhuman.
Right.
I'm not gonna wish him dead. I don't believe there's a heart beating in his chest, though. That guy is.
Well,
I'm sorry, that's not
totally,
nice.
That's a totally different thing. But how do we become so casual in terms of life and death?
People aren't thinking about their words and they're not thinking about their actions. And I think if people could see if people saw, say the attacks this week, say the Ricin attacks and say the Boston attacks. Like, just say hypothetically, they did turn out to be a part of the Patriot movement. Right. Do you think that the so-called Patriot movement or the militia movement or anybody that supports it would step back and say, you know what? It's gotten real.
No.
People had their legs blown off.
Yeah.
We need to scale it back a little bit. Do you think that would have had at all been the attitude from the militia groups or the Patriot groups, as they like to be called?
Yeah. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. But,
yeah, well.
But, I mean, listen, I'm going to say something that might offend some people. But,
go ahead.
I have been thinking about this all day. Listen, I myself, I'm no longer religious. I don't really believe in God. I don't really believe in heaven or, hell or even, afterlife is very foggy to me. I don't know what that is. But you know what? Because there's such an unknown, let's together take care of this world.
Yeah.
Right here and right now. Let's take care of this earth. Let's take care of this world. And let's take care of each other now because we don't know what the hell is going to happen after we, take our last breath, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I understand that's a whole different discussion that's going to religion and stuff.
That's fine.
But people need to take care of stuff like now in this life because we don't know what's beyond. Because we don't know what's beyond, let's take care of it now.
We're all in this together, and I think if people and we say that, but I think if people really took those words down, and they really understood what it meant.
Right.
Perhaps, I mean, if you want to do this, that, and the other because you want to make sure you get to the right afterlife, that's fine. But if what you have to do to get to that afterlife is forsake your fellow man, give tax breaks to millionaires, and watch people starve, you root for war. If those are the things you really believe are going to get you to the afterlife, you need to scale back on the murdery thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I might be like off the deep end on this one, but even like suspect number one,
yes,
he was killed last night, right? And people were cheering. Yes. I'm like, death is never a good thing.
He's a terrible person, but we should never cheer death.
Right. Right.
It's not a happy. It's a very somber time, and it's really unfortunate. He was young. He was dumb. He did something really unfortunate, but we should never be standing on the sidelines going, "Yay!"
That's just
already, and I'm not going to say who, but already somebody in my Facebook stream has already passed around the picture of the guy on the slab, the guy that died last night. When it showed up in my stream, I was freaked because nothing is blacked out, and I go, "Wow!" But that's sort of how much, and I forget what the text to it said. It said something like, we're not going to show you the pictures of the people from the marathon bombings because that'd be terrible. But here's the scumbag that perpetrated it. And I went, oh my, it's actually him on the slab. Yeah. Wow. And they're celebrating it. Yay. 10,000 likes or whatever. Christ, you guys. No, we're, we need to pull back a little bit. Humanity needs to play some role.
No, we need to be more careful, I guess, when we deal with this kind of stuff.
What he did was inhumane. We need to make sure that we don't become the people that we despise.
Yes. Okay. So do you want to move on to?
I want to do an update on a story that we covered. I don't remember if it was the last show or the show before, but the prosecutor murders, which by the way we initially thought may have been perpetrated by some of the white power groups. Now, if you remember correctly, 2 prosecutors were killed. First one was Mark Hossey, who by the way was a World War II survivor, had his skull crushed in the war, and managed to come back. To get his law degree and practice law in the state of Texas. He was shot in a parking lot in broad daylight, and then District Attorney Mike McClellan said Mike McClellan said, "I'm going to find the scum that did this." And then a couple weeks later, Mike McClellan and his wife were killed at their home. And once again, they go, "Oh my goodness, it's the Aryan Brotherhood, the white supremacists. They're going after all these guys." Well, what it really turned out to be was a gentleman by the name, and I use the term loosely, by the name of Mike Williams, who also worked in Kaufman County and was fired a number of years back for stealing computer equipment. Right. And after he was fired, he said that his life was his entire job and called the loss of his job a lifelong sentence. And how's he going to get another job with a felony on his record? Well, his wife is now sitting in jail, accused of these murders, and she's confessed to them, doing them for him. He has not been arrested yet, but she has now been arrested. I saw this. I saw the Ricin attacks. I saw Boston. I saw this all-out assault on the government, and it turns out that everything is an absolute coincidence, and it's not an all-out attack on the government. It's 3 separate incidents that look like they were connected, and dead wrong, none of them were connected. So essentially, that's it. It's essentially solved. I mean, obviously, Eric Williams will probably be joining his wife eventually, not in the same, because obviously there's men's and women's prisons, so they'll be separate. But it looks like he's probably going to be scooped up soon too.
I think he is. I think he was arrested, right?
You think he was? As of last night, I hadn't heard about it, but
he was a former justice of peace.
That's right. He was a former justice of the peace, right?
It's very ironic.
Accused of stealing computers, which, by the way,
and then they actually, the creepy thing is they actually the TV, one of the TV station actually interviewed him, like after the whole thing went down.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
And they interviewed him, and they go, "Hey, aren't you bothered by all this? Because they're essentially accusing you." And he kept it cool as a fan. He goes, "No, I understand the way this stuff works. They're just asking questions. I understand why I would be a natural choice. They're just asking me questions. No big deal, and it's done like that." Wow.
How do we
like
get how do
that
we get to
coldly?
right? How do we even get to that? I mean, I guess. Well, isn't that the same topic than before? I guess it is. But how do we even get to that we think violence, getting rid of somebody, is the answer to anything?
We can go back to a little bit earlier where we said, when people cheer violence, whether it be real, whether it be simulated in movies or television, video games, whatever. We not only become desensitized to it, we really just start thinking it's not a big deal. And to some degree, I think we also start thinking it's not really real, like it's not really happening. Yeah. People don't realize that when somebody's bleeding, that's their life leaving their body.
Right.
Was
that line in? I always quote that line in the Unforgiven. When you kill a man, you take away everything he's got, and everything that he has ever got, or something.
I've not heard it, but I would like to. That sounds like a good quote.
That's like just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, these.
So there's a quick update on the prosecutor thing, which I spent quite a bit of time reading so many of those stories as they were coming out, and to hear it end so simply, I shouldn't be disappointed because they have their man or woman, as it were, and the story's over. But I really expected it to end very differently.
Okay. I want to mention one thing because there are, at least all the three things that we just talked about: the Boston bombing,
yes,
the Ricin thing.
Yes.
And then the Texas,
this
incident. Yeah. All three of them got spinned into, with like conspiracy theories and stuff.
Yes.
And to Alex Jones, I don't know if it is even worth mentioning Alex Jones. It's not even like 2 hours later, he just, spill on his.
Muslims right. Everywhere. They're coming for you.
You know what? I think there are at least two positive quality to conspiracy theories. You want to hear it?
Yes.
One, I know I'm not crazy because I think those are crazy, so I'm not crazy.
Right.
Two, I know who is crazy, so I know who to run away from.
You said something a couple of weeks ago that really, really stuck with me, and I'm not sure if they were your words or if you got them from somewhere. But you said there's a rational explanation for everything, and I thought about that after we got off the show that night.
I don't remember saying that, but I'll take it.
Well, but you did, and you said that, and when we got done with the show that night, I really thought about it because I found myself in the conspiratorial sometimes, and after you said that, I really thought about it. And I thought about all the things that have been going on, and I said, you know what? There really is a rational explanation for everything. One of your examples was I think the steam that rises from the ground in graveyards at night. People go, oh, that's the spirits, and you mentioned, oh no, it's something else. And I go, you know what? I thought about it, and I go, there's a rational explanation for everything.
Nothing new with this because
right.
there's always conspiracy theory with the JFK assassination and the and actually Gulf of Tonkin. That is a conspiracy,
right?
Unfortunately,
well, but conspiracies though.
I actually remember when Oklahoma City bombing went down. I was just back then there was no internet. Remember 1995? Remember that?
Well, yeah, I remember
there was no
bombing.
internet, right? So if you want like information, there's no internet. So that might be barely CompuServe or something. So you have to what do? You get an AM radio. You scan around at night for different stations, right? I remember I was listening to this is the night of the Oklahoma City bombing, and people were calling it. I just like AM radio. I just listening to this. I don't even remember what program it is. People are calling in with all kinds of crazy stuff, like the federal building is actually like a secret whatever, and there was actually 15 levels going down into the basement for some secret whatever thing that they're working on, whatever. I mean, come on, people. Are you serious? Really?
Right.
Those are actually fun. Those are, of course, fun to talk about.
Right.
But, you have to realize what you're saying.
Right.
And then of course there's that white, 747 flying above New York City, September 11th. Like, okay, but you know what I'm saying. But that kind of stuff, I think a logical, rational human being would kind of they can smell. I think we, if I can be so bold to say that we are logical and reasonable human being. I think sometimes when you hear stuff, you can smell it. You can smell whether it is more legit or it is more like on the crazy end of things.
Yeah.
And, that's the other thing, too. Because, being such new junkies that we are. Last night, I didn't actually get too much sleep because I was streaming, multiple things at the same time. I think I was streaming NBC coverage or whatever coverage it is all night. That's national. And I was actually streaming a local Boston TV station at the same time. Wow. Right? So I'm listening to this, listening to that. And, sometimes local stations do have a little bit of that flavor in it, their coverage.
Yeah.
So they are more, more conspiratorial stuff that they say, the tone is a little bit, more, should I say theatrical or something? But, that's another topic. That's another tangent.
No, that's fine.
But conspiracy theory, Alex Jones, God, come on. Do we need that? Do we really need that?
I'm obviously not going to deny the outright existence of conspiracies. Obviously they exist, but the whole conspiracy theory, here's what I think is going on secretly, that everybody is involved in this far-ranging thing and only this small group and I know about. I don't buy into those things anymore because it really is tinfoil hat stuff.
Well, if some of our listeners, I'm pretty sure our listeners, every single one of you guys know what we are talking about in terms of conspiracy theory. If you don't, just Google World Trade 7. World Trade Center, Building 7. You know exactly what we are talking about. So
that's one of the favorite ones.
Anyway.
All right, so hey, I'll tell you what. I'm not sure how much time we're looking at, but do you want to dip into change CPI, or do you want
we should talk about it quickly because that's the big deal.
Well, okay. I've got two things to say about it. Social Security is not part of the deficit, and Social Security is not going bankrupt. This week, Mr. Obama last week, he put Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security on the table for the Republicans and said, hey, Republicans, you know what? If I give you these two things, will you give me some revenue? And obviously, even though they've been begging for him to put those things on the table, they turned around to him and they said no. And then they immediately went to their constituents and they go, can you believe this guy? Can you believe this Obama, what he's trying to do? Michelle Bachmann led the pack. She goes, I will never let President Obama cut your Social Security. Hey, that's what he gets. He thinks that he's dealing with adults. He thinks that he's working from the middle of the road. He thinks that he's this great compromiser, and you know what? He's not working with adults. He's working with Republicans.
Okay.
And putting that on the table was the worst thing he ever could have done. Obviously, it's not going to pass.
Wow, here's the thing.
But this is going to be the narrative in the future. Whenever it's brought up, anytime somebody says, hey, we can't cut Social Security, we can't cut Medicare, they're going to go, hey, what about President Obama? Even he was going to do it. And he was a leftist, Marxist,
Well, first of all, in terms of the Republicans, they turn around and say, see what he did?
Yeah.
There's a word that I don't want to say, begins with a D.
Yes.
So it has to do with the procedure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I still hope that the whole thing is just a bluff. That it's just a tactic that the president and his people are using to just flush them out. Because it will just, the consequence is insane. Because, the whole point, one of the big things I know, I had a really huge, when I read and hear about this whole thing, that they actually put Social Security, in the
bargaining table.
Yes. I actually, my reaction is like, Mr. President, re-elected you for very specific reasons.
Right.
Don't let us down. And secretly, I still actually hope that this is just a bluff. It's a tactic that deep down they're actually not going to mess with Social Security. I still hope that.
I believe it is a bluff. I believe it is a tactic.
God, I hope.
But here's the unfortunate thing. Like I said before, this is going to become part of the Republican narrative from now on.
Right.
Because they will look back at this not in context, and they will constantly use this as the example. And anyone that says cutting Social Security is the wrong thing to do, they'll go, hey, you must be way too far to the left because your leftist president was going to do it.
Right.
That's what, I mean, I don't think he really wants to cut it. I don't think it's going to get cut. And obviously the Republicans aren't going to let it happen, but it becomes part of the narrative, and it will never be used in context ever again.
Listen, man, this is payback time too, because remember, read my lips, no new taxes.
Oh yeah.
It's like, hey, see, we get back to you on that one. So, for God's sake, I don't know. The whole reason seriously, the whole reason we voted for Obama, twice, and that we got him in twice.
Yeah.
And the whole reason that we are a party affiliation here, Democrats, it's one of the big thing about us is we're not gonna harm Social Security.
Right. Right.
Why abandoning one of the.
For me, it was the war in the Supreme Court. So as long as he doesn't start another war and doesn't put a wacko on the Supreme Court, I suppose I'm still 2 for 3.
Right. I'm not. Yes. To a totally abandoned ship right now. It's a childish thing to do too. Because there are a lot,
absolutely.
And I know we talked about this before. I mean, there's some people on our side. They're not being mature, but they're not being adult about this either. They're like, okay, well, Social Security, I'm done with Obama.
Yeah.
You're not being realistic either, because look at the people that the president has to play with. It's ridiculous. How can you even play? How can you even going to play a fair game with opponents like this?
Right.
Ridiculous. But see, fair and balanced. I just attack people on our side, so awesome, right?
Right.
So
okay. So
well, yeah.
Do you want to do? Can I get in one of my fun stories? Do you just want to do a DM a piece, or how do you want to finish up tonight?
Actually, I'm not going to do a DM because there are just way too many.
Then neither will I. Let me just do my fun story. Kevin, are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
Go the F to Sleep is about to become an effing movie. Not kidding. Deadline reports that Fox 2000 is going to turn it into a movie, and people on the internet are very worried about how that's going to happen because the plot is too simplistic. The book is being adapted by Ken Marino, who made Wet Hot American Summer and Party Down, 2 movies I've never seen, but I'm sure that they're absolutely fantastic. No doubt they're going to feel discouraged by the monumental failures of movies built around boring books like Fish Becomes Lost, Woman Has Bridesmaid, and Man Starts Newspaper. They note that Go the F to Sleep, the premise is very weak, it's one joke, it's worn out, and they picture the opening shot of the movie, an exasperated father begging his baby to go the F to sleep, and then they imagine 82 minutes of awkward silence as he struggles to think of something else to say. I have no idea. I've caught the Samuel L. Jackson thing, by the way, on the internet, and that's kind of what made the whole thing famous. But I can't imagine how such a simplistic book is going to turn into a movie. But hey, Fox is going to make it, and if anybody watches the Fox network for any reason, be it The Simpsons or News or whatever other show they're showing out there, you'll notice Fox Network is slowly becoming a hardcore porn channel.
I'm sure they can spin a conspiracy theory or two.
Right. Oh, okay. One last thing, and then I'll go and let you go. A hamster that came back from the dead. Tink the hamster was being house sat by a couple of friends. And while they were looking at the pet, they found the pet lying lifeless. So they went ahead and they wrapped it up. They buried it out in the yard about a foot deep, so that the cat wouldn't dig it up. And then they called the owners and they said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. Tink died," and we went ahead and buried Tink in the yard. The next day, they found Tink on top of a pile of boxes. Apparently, the animal was just hibernating. Its body temperature had dropped enough. This is what I'm talking about, rational explanation. Its body temperature had dropped enough that it automatically went into hibernation mode. And when they buried it, its heat began to collect again, raising its body temperature. And it scratched out of the toilet paper core that it was wrapped in and the paper. It dug its way upward, climbing a pipe that it found in the ground, digging through the topsoil. And then it went and it found a pile of boxes to hide in and sleep in the sub-zero temperatures overnight. And then the next day, when the house sitters came out to crush boxes, they found Tink. Seeing how he rose from the dead, they've renamed him Jesus because he rose from the dead on he rose from the dead on Easter. Wow. So obviously he's fine now. He's been checked out by a vet, and the vet says actually with hamsters this happens quite a lot. But with Tink, lucky for him, he managed to dig his way out of his grave and climb up a pipe and find a warm place to hide. Just the zombie hamsters. Right,
there's an opera in there somewhere.
There is. Now that might actually make a better story than the Go the F to Sleep, because this one actually has a few more details to it than that book does. But that's my fun for the week. I thought with all the bad news bears this week, we should be able to have a good laugh.
We need some laugh this week because
I think so as well.
A lot of heavy stuff went down.
So there's your zombie hamsters Go the F to Sleep.
Okay, so let's wrap up the show.
All right,
and hopefully, next week when we come back, the world will smell better than this week. Also, I really want to dig deeper into this Boston thing once we have more information.
Absolutely.
And you know what? We forgot something this week, right? We forgot to do all the housekeeping stuff. So let's
show with housekeeping.
So let's do this quickly, very quickly. So we have a Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/TFYCPO, which stands for The Fire You Can't Put Out. Yay! So now, and of course we have to we have a email address, TFYCPO@gmail.com, and also thank our guys at Open Sky Radio in San Francisco, California. To thank them for keeping this whole thing running.
Thank you, Open Sky.
Okay, so let's wrap up for this week, and and let's hope we'll have less technical problems next week. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Talk to you later. Bye.